Hello everyone. Let me get this started here. Let me start this here. And we'll do the teaching game and review like we always do. Hope you guys are enjoying me streaming at this higher than normal. Like we always do. Hope you guys are enjoying higher than normal resolution. And yeah, we'll just go ahead and do this. Interesting way to set things up. Not the way I would have done it. But yeah, interesting way to set this stuff up. This is kind of interesting. I'm just going to go ahead and play this. Like, these two stones I don't think are of that much value. I think he's concentrating way too much on one side. And the thing is, like, yes, I'm just going to go ahead and give him that. I'm going to invade the corner. I don't really know if I can review this game because this game doesn't really make any sense. Like, you definitely need to. I don't really know what game he's actually playing. I'm gonna check to see his games before because it does seem like you're just like randomly placing stones at this point. Like, these stones don't really have any meaning. I'm gonna go ahead and play. I'm obviously gonna play another game after this. If you are a complete beginner, you definitely need to read some books first. You definitely need to read some books first before you play. My teaching games aren't really geared towards complete beginners. The teaching games definitely are not geared towards complete beginners. It's definitely more like towards people that already have some of the basics down. Because I'm just not really that good at teaching complete beginners. Like, none of these moves make any sense. And realistically, like, when someone actually sets boundaries on on like what rank you have to be, um, someone like OGS needs to realize that like people who haven't really played any rated games should not actually be able to accept. I should actually have the option. I didn't need to do that, but like I should actually have the option to say like you actually have to have like a rank in order to accept these challenges because um, I think like games like this are essentially like wasting all my viewers' time as well because they're like you don't really get anything out of a game like this. The whole point of these games is to teach people, and you're just not getting much teaching value. You're really not getting much teaching value out of this at all because there's no point in reviewing this game. Hey man, I'm definitely playing another game after this. This isn't really a real game. That's probably not a good move, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. Just gonna go ahead and finish that. Realistically, like if you're like at this point in Go, if you're at this point in Go, like playing these games against me or anyone isn't going to help you get better because you don't under because here you don't really understand the fundamentals of the game. Because legitimately, these moves don't really make any sense. I think I'm eventually just going to take the entire board because it doesn't. She's obviously a person that doesn't really know how to play the game. It makes me a little upset when these people accept because they're really like because it kind of like defeats the purpose of like me doing the channel and me doing these kind of games because like I don't think anyone really gets anything out of this. You really can't do anything here. Please. What's it? I mean, a good and bad move. A good and bad move is essentially it's your judgment of like the value of the move. So like how much points is it worth? I mean, these are all really bad moves, obviously. Obviously, these are all really bad moves. But the thing is, like, I'm gonna play another game after this. This is not an adequate game for teaching. I'm not gonna review this game because there's really nothing to review. Um,
You have won.
so I'm going to actually play another game. Like I do actually say 5 to 12.
Started.
I do actually say like 5 to 12 Q for a certain reason. This game should be much better. Uh, I do actually say 5 to 12 Q. Oh, by the way, the last game I lost, that guy was definitely using AI. I went back and reviewed the game, and that guy almost followed the AI like 1 to 1 exactly. So that last game against the 10k I lost, I wasn't actually playing against the 10k. I was playing against the AI, and that was like the first time I played one of these teaching games where I felt like pretty much the entire time I was just playing against a far stronger player. And it was a far stronger player because it was the AI. I don't really like this. You leave that vulnerability up in the future, and you're giving white both sides. So this particular one I don't like. I don't think it's too bad, but I don't like it because right I can't really peep right now because I think I'm just going to expand out here, jump out here. But anyways, Black's group is still not that strong at this point. I'm not going to answer that either. You're I get the Sente here. Like my groups are okay, so I'm not gonna answer that for the most part. Like it's too small for me to answer. So I'm just going to approach over here. Because like since I actually studied both sides and he didn't get too much here, I would say that that's definitely like my advantage right now. This is basic Joseki. I'll take the corner though. He is building some influence, but whatever. If he actually knights moves here, I probably won't respond. I don't even know if I really want to respond to that. You know what? I'm just going to take this corner, and it gives him a little pressure anyways. Like, this really depends on how well he's able to attack. Like, if he wants the stone, I'll just give him the stone. That's not a huge problem for me. Can you look at my game? I don't really know what your see, the thing is, like, I could block, but my guess is that I could just do this as well. That's probably not a good move, actually. Probably should have just, like, connected this or something. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I mean, he can cut me, but I don't think it's that big of a deal right now. I do have to repair this, though, after this. But I can go ahead and do this on repairing it, because that would actually be Sente. Or he can just ignore it, that's fine as well. But if he does ignore it, I am going to come up here and attack this group. Yeah, this is pretty big. I mean, that's the biggest move on the board, so it's not bad, but... I'm just going to take the territory down here while he's trying to escape there. I don't really have any weaknesses on the board right now. At least I don't think so. I mean, there is this wedge here, but I don't think he wants to take that wedge right as of right now. I will gladly take the territory on the bottom. I probably should, like, come up here sometime, but still. Okay, it's fine. Just gonna do this. I don't think that's actually that big yet. The whole point of doing this is doing this to get Sente here. So since I've actually gotten that, I'm going to actually I don't really know what I'm going to do. I think this is pretty big right now. I do think that's actually pretty big right now. Because if he does that, I do have to answer. There is a significant amount of points at play here, I would guess. I'm actually... Okay, that's fine. That's all I really wanted. This might be bad because I'm creating like a weaker group for myself. I don't know if that merits an answer. I might just want to do this. It is a little risky, though, I will say that. Because this group isn't really under threat anymore. I can just come over here and do this anytime. Probably should have answered this first, though. We'll see. If he does that, I will gladly just take the points here. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big sacrifice that he just made. Like, he's giving up a lot of points there. He does have potential over here, though. I will give him that. I'm definitely going to do this first. It's probably not great. Oh no, this is a bad move. Definitely should not have done that, actually. Yeah, that's fine, though. I should not have done that. He does have a lot of points down here. I will give him that. If he does this, I will probably just connect this. Yeah, see, I'm not going to play that. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to take the points down here. This particular stone's kind of irrelevant. The thing is, he still has to connect here. Does he? I might have made a mistake there, actually. I probably did make a mistake there. Yeah, I made a mistake. No, I didn't, because I did, but I don't know if he sees it or not. That's not all that relevant. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to make sure that's connected back. That's pretty important. Then I can just reduce his territory here. Might have wanted to do this first though. If I flatten out his territory, I think I probably have enough to win. Yeah, I don't really need to do that much. He could try to attack those two stones, I guess. Remember, like I have this territory and I have this down here, and he only has this group here. So territory wise, I should just have more than him. Yeah, it's fine. That's really not worth anything. I can't really do that. I'll just do this. It's fine. I don't want to do that because then he has this cut, and that could be pretty bad for me. This looks like a lot of territory, but compared to this plus that, it's really not all that much. It's pretty big. That's also pretty big. Probably should have done that first. This is pretty big, actually. I mean, like, this is a lot of territory here, plus what he gave up there. Guess he's trying to make some territory there. I don't see the point. I don't really see the point of doing that, actually. He has to. This is Sente. This is indeed Sente. If he doesn't answer, he's going to have a lot of problems. Yes. Stuff like this isn't that big. I guess I can just do things like this, I guess, now. Not really sure what's big now, but It's hard to say. I guess this is pretty big. I think like this group and this is roughly even in size, and then like this is going to be bigger than what he has here and what he has here. That's how the territory counting goes. At least for me, that's how the territory counting goes. Well, I mean, a game like this, they don't really need to resign. Yes, he's down by a significant amount, but he actually played okay for like, he played pretty decently for like being 7Q. So, I mean, he doesn't really need to surrender this particular game. So that's actually a lot of points as well. So, you know, the thing is, like, I base 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's like maybe 20, 25 here, and this is going to be more. So, and this, like, it looked big in the beginning, but at the end, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. This is like 30 something points. This is also like 30 something points down here. So, maybe even a little more than him. So, like, this, I think, is pretty much equal to this. And then, like I said, whatever I have here is going to be more than whatever he has in those areas. So I can just connect this way. Um, there's also nothing down there. I definitely do have a territorial style. If this was Haned, there would be something here. I can play influence as well. I just don't play influence most of the time. This is kind of pointless. At, like doing that is just sticking points in my territory. I'm just gonna repair this, and you really can't do anything here. Like there's basically no way you're gonna live in here. There is essentially like no chance you can live in here. And it's pretty obvious what to do here. You just reduce, if you just reduce his eye space, he has no chance of living in here. That I'm not really going to answer because there's no point in answering that move. There's like, this is at the spot where he just can't make another eye. So here you just give me free Sente. Now given that free Sente isn't that big of a deal right now, eventually, I think he should have connected up here. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. Just gonna repair a couple things. I think this is gonna be fine. I didn't need to follow up on that, but whatever. Like, he's playing very responsive, so like every time I do something like this, I get a pretty big advantage. I get a couple points advantage because he's just playing responsive to me. Doing that gives me a couple extra points. Definitely got to watch out in closer games not to just like stick points to your opponent's territory. Yeah, it's going to be that. Just going to take care of this so like I don't make a mistake and forget that was an Atari later. Generally, when you know you're up by a lot, you kind of just fix things so you don't lose. That was probably not necessary. Probably should have just done this beforehand. I has to respond to that because that's 1 point right there. We're just going to fill in the rest of this. There's no need to respond to that. But I did actually use this over here to claim a lot of territory here. My mouse, it's on display though. My mouse
Pass.
cursor is...
Remove the dead stones.
Yeah, I should be ahead by around 40 points. So, well, you can't see my mouse cursor. It should be
You
display.
have one.
Not really sure why that doesn't work. Let's actually go and review this. Let's actually go. You'll see when I review this. I'll just call out the moves, I guess. So I actually think like I actually favor white on this. I probably should have just done this, but that's fine. Like this isn't too bad. I don't think like this particular move is necessary. I think it does. I mean, it is eye space, but it does give white like a free move. Here, I think you would either just do something like this, maybe, or just do like take off and do this. I feel like that's probably the right move here. Letting me jump out a little bit. That obviously I'm not going to respond. It's not big enough. I mean, if I did this, he could just do something like this, and I feel like just invading another corner is a lot bigger. This is fine. That I probably should have just pincered to put more pressure. But I just chose to take the corner. He jumps, I jump, he does this. This might have been the better play, but I don't really know how this works out. I can't just do this because this doesn't actually work for me, obviously. So this would have actually been hard if he actually if this would have been hard if he actually did do this. Um, so I didn't really want to block because of this. So that's why I don't think this is the best move, but I did choose to go down. But the thing is, once I went down, he could have also wedged, and I think that's what he should have done. Because if I do this, obviously I'm dead. I have to do this. He comes out here. I guess this wouldn't really work for him. Maybe not. Yeah, this probably doesn't work for him all that well. So, okay, that wedge doesn't work, but I think he could have like just jumped actually. I think this is probably the best move for him because it still threatens my group. Like continuing to do this, I mean, you leave me an out to come back here. I'm going to do this first. So when I do this, I feel like he should just come either do this or just go somewhere else. And which he did. I fly up here to threaten this group. He does that. I'm going to take the bottom territory. I'm not really trying to kill this group. I'm not really trying to kill these 5 stones in the middle. I'm really just trying to get some territory on the bottom side, which is fine. I do that. I'm going to do this first. If I was black, I would not respond to this. This stone is not that big, and it's kind of irrelevant. So I would definitely not respond to this. I was banking on the fact that he would actually respond. But like, part of the reason I did this is so I can actually do that and fix this cut. I think I probably should have done this. And if he did this as a response, I would just do nothing. If white does this, like black should automatically do this and maybe do something like this. You don't have to respond just because he does this, because think about like if you respond to the stone, you're really not responding to anything. Because essentially, like your group's not under your group here is not under threat. Your group in the corner is not under threat, and white doesn't really gain anything. So this is unnecessary if white plays that. So that's why I didn't play that. I went up here, Hanade. I would have double Hanade because you like this doesn't really work for this. Really doesn't work for white. So I would have definitely double Hanade on this. If you double Hanade, I would be forced to do something like this. Then you can even crawl along like this. I can do this. And this is just a much, much better result shape for black. So I would have definitely double Hanade. Doing this, letting me... This move I'm sure about. Like, I don't really know what move to make here. So I just went ahead and made... I didn't lose too many points on this move, but this was not the ideal move. That wasn't awesome. I feel like here you would either do this and solidify your territory and let me go on the attack, or if you're afraid of that attack, you do this, force me over, and then take the bottom territory. So I feel like that was the appropriate response. Like you doing this, I'm not going to respond to that. I'm going to invade here. This would have been okay for me as well, but I'm going to invade here. I don't think that's the right response because I would definitely cut this stone off. You're like black is much stronger because he has the knight's move at Q3 and R5. So I would definitely attack the N3 stone because I feel like sacrificing the stone to get the territory on this the side, on the opposite side, is just too much. So you're sacrificing the stone, and you let me get that as well. This move is very, very big. So he does that. I do this. This is not a great move by me. I shouldn't have done that. I probably should have just done something like this. This is not a great move. I'm going to fly up here to try to attack this group. Oh, if you do this, I am just going to do this, by the way. And this is actually a very viable move for black to do something like this at this point. Very, very viable. And it's probably what he should have done. Because if you Atari here, I'm not going to connect this and let you kill my 2 stones. So if you Atari here, I'm definitely going... Well, I would do this, actually. You wouldn't be able to cut off the stone, but that might actually be that might be an okay move for black. So here, I'm obviously... If you do this, I'm going to... Here, this is the right move because like it would force me to connect. and then you can disconnect this stone. But that's not the way it was played. That's not a good move because once I block, I'm obviously going to honey this first and then do this. Now, there is like, you can actually, you know, if I actually might have played this way if I was black. I might just do this because white still has problems here. So if white actually does this, then black could actually come out and attack these 3 stones. And remember, like, as black, you can still cut off this group by doing this. So I probably would have actually played this way. Because if white doesn't do this and white does this, you can actually come in here. And if white decides to extend, well, then white's got a whole mess of problems here. And white's kind of screwed. So that's the thing. Like, I probably would, like, I don't know if this is exactly the right move, but I would have, like, once white did this, I definitely would have played this way. Like, yeah, it's kind of dangerous, but, you know, like, the thing is, you're really not going to do this right now. I think this is a ladder that works for black. Yeah, this works for black. So white can't actually do that, right? So I would have definitely like played this way or even just this way to attack these 3 stones. Because I really want to go on the offensive here. These 3 stones are not that strong. Now, you're not going to be able to kill these 3 stones, but you should be able to get some advantage of attacking them. And because this group is already weak here, you can always do this, by the way. Like, because that group is already weak here, you should be able to get a lot of territory on the bottom. So I think that's the way I would have played, actually. I would have tried to go on the offensive there. This move doesn't really make any sense. It lets me basically connect my 3 stones. If you do this, I'm going to connect, and you still can't connect. So it lets me connect my 3 stones. Now, the AI doesn't really like this. Probably according to the AI, I might have been better off just like going down here and reducing this territory. And that's probably the better, and honestly, that is the better move. Because you can't really do anything about this. Now, like I said, I would still play this move, maybe, but now like this attack isn't nearly as powerful as it was. So I think like as white, I should have played this because that definitely reduces the amount of territory that's possible here. But either way, I did this. He does this. And I just reduced the territory here. The game is still pretty close right now because this territory on the bottom has not been solidified. But I do think like he did give up a lot here and he didn't use the influence right. So here, I don't think there's enough territory down here. I would definitely do this first and then maybe do something like this. Because remember, like, black still has this move. You can still play this way. I mean, I would definitely be a little bit more aggressive because at this point, like, I know that if I do this and you do this, like, white is going to be that's a big advantage for white. So I'm going to jump. He's going to re-jump here. That does give him the territory, but like I said, you have to realize that, like, this territory is roughly equivalent to this territory, and whatever you gain here and here is not going to be enough to offset this. So I think this is probably the best move right now. Once again, like, that's Sente, so I would actually do that. There's not really much. You can come out here and threaten this, but there's really not that much here. So attacking those isn't really that much of a thing, but I do think for me, like, this might have been the best move at this point. But either way, I did this, or like either this or maybe even something like this, because that's actually a pretty large move. I came up, he does this, I'm going to do this right now. I don't think black needed to respond, but either way, that's fine as well. That's not a good move. I don't think you really need to worry about me disconnecting the stone, because I wouldn't do it right now. Because like this, like, realistically, if you just cut here, like, I can't really do anything. This doesn't work. This really doesn't work. If you just cut here, I really can't do much. Because, you know, like, this really doesn't work for me. I mean, you could try this, but This doesn't really work either. So yeah, I don't think you needed like if you actually calculated this right, I don't think you actually needed to. You don't really need to do something like this because that's very damaging. Like this isn't really a cut because my liberties are too tight down there. So that was a bad move. I feel like here I don't know if I would have responded if I was black. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, just doing this is fine as well. Cuz I mean, I have to respond and then you can probably just do this later. I think that's a better shape for black. So essentially, it's a bunch of forcing moves. Then I jump out. Yeah, jump out. So I secure some of the bottom territory, and your liberties are kind of tight here, so you always have to wonder. He does this. Um, that's actually okay, I guess. Yeah, this cut thing would actually be kind of annoying, so maybe that's okay. So does this. I'm gonna be able to get this Hane. Um, that's actually quite big. I probably shouldn't have responded to that. I probably should have like I don't know what I should have done. I should have done this Hane first because it's Sente. So like in the closing game, you should always play Sentes first. And so like I should have played the Sente before I responded to that. This is fine. Although like this is a big losing move because this is much bigger. Um, I don't need to respond to this. My liberties aren't that tight, but like essentially like you trading this and this loses you several points because if you do this, then if you actually do this, then you know I don't have all these points down here. So you basically gave this is probably the biggest move right now. C8 is probably the biggest move for white, and likewise B8 is probably the biggest move for black. So trading this and this, you lose a lot of points. So now like all this territory is mine. Now like all this territory is roughly equivalent to that territory there. That's okay, but I think like you know if you're black you need to realize like this stone is not that big. It's a couple of points and it's kind of irrelevant. You just lost since and the Sente you lost to me is actually much bigger. So like if you actually look at you know where we are now, like right here we're at white plus 1.3. So like I gain a lot in the closing on you know on weaker players just by trading these moves. Now you're at white plus 12.6. And then by doing this, you're at white almost plus 20 now. So I'm going to do this first. You have to block. I'm going to get the Hane advantage first and then connect this. This is Sente. Just for those of you that don't know, if I do this, you're kind of screwed. So he did actually have to repair that. So I'm going to take the Sente first. He is going to do that. I don't think this is that big, but it's not a huge loss. I don't really know what the biggest move is right now. Probably this is my guess, but it's hard to say. Like I think this is a better move. Because this stone isn't really worth all that much, and then like if I was black, I would just go ahead and do something like this to rip open the center territory. But he didn't. This I don't think this really needed blocking. There's really not much I can do here. And also, like, I don't think this warrants a response either. This is going to be by far the best. Like, I think that's going to be, like, by far the biggest move right there. Because if I Hane it, I have more potential here. If you do this, it takes away all the potential. So I eventually get the Hane. There is no need to do anything here. I can't do anything here. You're alive. This group is definitely alive, and making this move doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really gain you anything, and I had no threat there in the first place. So I'm going to Knight's move there. That was bad. You could have just done this, most likely. I can't extend because then I'm dead anyways. So yeah, I feel like this is definitely a bad move. Letting me basically secure the middle territory there. This is fine, but it doesn't really do anything. That's fine. Sente. This is obviously a big mistake for white. There's essentially like, see, like you sticking more territory in here, like essentially just gives me a free point. Plus, like you had advantages you could press over here with this, and now that I fixed it, you gave me more points. Plus, you fixed all my territory. There's no way you can actually survive in here. And obviously, you just gave me like Sente with that, so lose a couple more points that way. I'm going to take advantage of this. I don't think you needed to repair this just now. You, like after I do this, you definitely need to repair, but now you don't. Repairs that. It's going to take these points. So, you know, you can actually see, like, even without this miscalculation by black, that white basically gained 30 points on the end game. So, like, that's just the importance of the end game. Like, you gotta remind people that, like, if you're about even, but, like, you know, your end game is, like, Dan level and his end game is, like, 7-8k level, you will get about 20-30 points. So, like, I won this game right over the end game because up until, like, towards the end game, we were pretty even. But just, like, even without this, just, like, recognizing this over here and some of these articulate moves over here, like, you can gain a huge advantage. So if you're looking to improve, like endgame is one of those areas where people kind of like forget about because they want to win in an exciting way, but you don't have to win in an exciting way. You can just like basically like nickel and dime your opponents to death, and that's a perfectly legitimate way to win. So this game was like, you know, end game advantages for the most part because I actually played a pretty bad like middle game, but in game wise I ended up winning by 40 points, and even if he had not done this, I still would have won by about 30 points. Yeah, when I say territory on the bottom, like when I say territory, I mean like the right over here. So like, so this territory that black has is roughly equal to this territory that white has. And then so basically like the difference in the points is like this plus this over like my territory here. So essentially that's what it is right now. All right, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. And I will be back